And how did you come up with MakuSafe? Let's walk me into this transition, how it started, and kind of a nice overview of where it stands today. Give us the whole thing.
Yeah, it is totally different, right? So MakuSafe, we've developed a piece of hardware technology. It's a wearable device. Got one here. So it's an armband. This piece of technology holds a lot of sensors in it, and I'll
Okay.
talk a little bit about those. But it goes into an elastic armband that goes on the upper arm of a worker.
Okay.
And really, where the idea came from was my dad being a machinist for more than 20 years, I spent a lot of time around the industrial environment. And then he became a safety manager for about 20 years now. He's been a safety manager. And, just hearing the stories and the challenges and the things that they face and that their workers face. Now, he's responsible for I think almost 2,000 people now at his facility that he's responsible for making sure go home at the end of the day.
Mm.
And so as I would hear the stories of the things that they would have to do from a compliance and OSHA compliance standpoint and safety, um, I started doing some research to find out like just how bad it is, the problem of accidents and injuries and fatalities in workplaces. And in my research, I was heartbroken to hear that more than 1,000 people every single day lose their life in a workplace accident. Every day,
Is that globally,
globally.
worldwide?
Yep.
Wow,
About
man.
500
Wow.
people a minute are injured on the job. Now, obviously, a range of injuries, right? Not all of those are serious injuries, but
Wow.
it's a lot.
Wow.
And I felt like, oftentimes accidents, there's precursors, right? There's leading indicators. There's things that are telling us that this is going to happen. There's the crack that 100 people trip over, and then the 101st person trips over it and they fall and they break their wrist, or they fall and even worse, they hit their head and they get brain damage, right? And
Mm.
there was 100 times telling you this is going to happen, right? And so the idea was, if we could gather data on a variety of things like environmental conditions, what's happening in the environment around the worker, and human motion and things like that. Could we do what meteorologists do today, in that they can forecast risk, right? They forecast risk in the weather. When's the weather going to be bad? And you probably remember when we were younger, right? The tornado siren would go off and you'd look out your window and there's a freaking tornado right there, right? You get like a
Yeah.
minute to get in your basement. It wasn't like all of this early warning stuff, but
That's
because
right.
of data and machine learning and the science now, it'll be Monday afternoon and the weatherman's like, hey, if you got plans on Friday afternoon, watch out. It's, we're expecting some bad weather, right? They're
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
far
Mhm.
out. And we said, why can't we do the same thing with worker risk, right? What are these magic confluences of
Great idea.
factors
Great idea.
that accelerate risk, and accelerate fatigue in a worker, and that fatigue leads to risk? And if we're gathering all of this data, we should be able to see the early inflection points where that heightened risk is starting to happen, and then we can intervene before something happens.
How are you thinking about this over time? Like while you're on a jog, while you're having coffee? How long does it take you to develop this in your head, this vision? Is this I'm guessing this is not overnight. I'm guessing this is conversations with your dad and your, talk, that whole piece. How much time did this take?
Yeah,
You-
it it was a couple of months. First it was just kind of forming this hypothesis, and then it was getting validation. And what's interesting is I can't remember if it was like a Tim Ferriss book or something like that. One of those I read along the line that said, if you want to validate an idea, share an idea with a few trusted people and see if they share it. See if they talk about it.
See,
Because if they're excited about it, then
you might have something.
yeah, and they're excited enough to share that with somebody else. And so I shared it with a few folks that I knew in manufacturing, and then pretty soon I get an email from somebody else that says, hey, I own a factory here in Northeast Iowa. If this is something that you put together, let me know. I'm interested in it.
Boom, there you go.
And I was
Confirmation.
like, yeah, I'm like, wow,
Uh,
we're definitely onto something. So this is early, 2016. I had left the software company in the fall of 2015. So I was there for about a year
Okay.
while we transitioned people. Um, and so it was just it was a really good time for me to explore something. And my co-founder who helped me start the company was somebody, his name's Mark Frederick, a wonderful guy, but it was somebody I'd only known for like 6 months. I had no lifetime hit. We weren't friends from childhood or anything like that. I met him doing a weekend hackathon on IoT stuff,
Okay.
and I just found him to be like a wonderful human being and somebody that was fascinating and brilliant, and just absolutely brilliant in the way that he understood technology and approached things. And having zero hardware background myself, right? Like
Right.
I've
Yeah.
never created a physical product, right? Everything I've done is just, pecking on a keyboard. So I called up Mark and I said, hey, there's a problem in this world that I think data can solve or make a huge impact on. Do you want to hear me out? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we had a beer and I shared with him the research, and he said, Gabe, I love it. He goes, I'm not going to leave my career, but I'll help you, you know?
Right. Yeah. He's like, I'm not going to quit my job yet, but yeah, this sounds cool.
Exactly. And so that's how I brought him along, to
Okay.
be able to
Okay.
kind of join the journey. So
And then, so did it take capital? Did you have to raise cash or no to get it started? Or did you just bootstrap it with your own cash?
in the beginning, we paid with our own cash to get it started. And
Okay.
thank goodness that I was so ignorant about what this whole process would take to get a hardware physical product company off the ground. Because I'll be honest with you, right? I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a risk taker, but most of us are also calculated risk takers, right? Like we sit down and we map out like the pros and the cons, or what skills you have or what you don't have and where the gaps are.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if I would have known, that it was going to take $10 million in venture capital, that it was
Oh,
going to take an international supply chain, that we would have to set up a manufacturing operation in Penang, Malaysia, that we would have to operate with a team of people across the country virtually, all of these things, patenting a product, and all of these things that we've had to accomplish over the last 4 years.
yeah.
I would have laid out this list and I would have been like, there's no, I'm far from the right person to do this, right? I have the passion, I have the drive, I love this idea, I think we can help people, but I don't have the skills to do it. So I'm really very fortunate that I didn't do that kind of knowledge-based calculation. So
And now the other two companies too, you never had to really raise cash. You never had to deal with
mhm.
VC. So this would be your first experience, going to people saying, "Hey man, I need you to write me a check."
Yeah, exactly. I think the first checks were kind of easy because it was a little bit of that friends and family round, right? It was people that
Okay.
I knew, people that one gentleman owns a couple of factories, one here in Iowa, one in Italy, and he just, he understood what we were doing, and he said, "Hey, if you need some cash, I can help you out with this." And so again, like the first ones, and it wasn't a lot of money. The first round of capital we raised was $100,000,
Okay.
which uh, to me, $100,000 is a lot of money, but when you're
Mm,
talking in the scheme of capital raising, right?
right.
People look at
Right.
that and they go, "That's cute, good job," So, but getting that first $100,000, I remember meeting up with Mark, and of course, Mark's still working full time, and
And you
I
guys are
meet
like,
up
yeah,
with,
yeah, yeah, yes,
yeah, oh yeah,
somebody,
we're high fiving in the parking lot, and
somebody believes in us. We got $100,000 investment. Yeah, awesome.
exactly, and we were off to the
Uh,
races, and we were
so
really
good.
stoked. And yeah, it's just the capital raising side of things was just a whole new fascinating thing to
How
learn,
much? How
for
much have
sure.
you had to raise to date? If you can, you share that or no?
Yeah, we've raised about $10 million now to
Okay.
date. So
Okay.
um,
Are you and your co-founder still? Are you guys still in control? Did you have to give up control yet? What's that look like?
well, you always give up a little something, right? When you
Yeah,
bring
yeah. I mean,
people
if
on, and
if somebody's giving you $10 million, they're going to want something.
Exactly. It's been good though. We've raised it incrementally, right? And so we've been able to achieve some milestones that get our investors encouraged and
Okay.
excited
Okay.
about
Great.
our progress, right? So One thing about hardware is there's a lot of capital investment up front before you can even really make money, right? I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
a $500,000 in tooling. You're talking
Mm,
just the
mm, mm.
R&D and the engineering
Yeah.
and the trial and error. And so it takes a lot of faith. And I think the reason we were able to raise capital is because people really believe in our mission. What we're trying to do is we want to make sure that guys like my dad go home to their family at the end of the day, and too many people don't. We lose one a week here in Iowa in a
I mean,
workplace accident.
the
So
math you gave me earlier is 360,000 deaths a year.
yeah, more than
Uh,
1 million people have died since we started this project, right? And
Wow,
that's a lot.
wow, wow. So it's not only does it save lives, which is the most important part, but it protects the companies from lawsuits and downtime and all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, it's probably, I
Yeah.
don't know, well, it's never an easy sell, right? Nothing's an easy sell, but when you're pitching this, they're probably thinking, "Wow, okay, this is sounds like a great investment." Walk us through the business model. So, if I'm a factory owner, what's your business model? Are you selling them? Is it by user? Is it by device? Do they pay a monthly fee for it to be monitored? If you don't mind sharing the model.
No, not at all. You know, the hardware gets all the attention because that's the sexy and cool thing. But really,
Yeah.
our magic is, the software platform that crunches all the numbers and looks at
Okay.
everything and provides, actionable steps for safety and operations people to take when we identify trends. So, the hardware is the least part of the solution. So we just sell it as a solution as a service or system as a service, if you will. So
Okay.
there's the data side of it. We've got a data platform to serve up just raw data through APIs. We have what we call MakuSmart, which just a little funny side note. MakuSafe, right? MAKU.
Uh-huh.
Actually, MAKU is Hawaiian for risk.
I
So
see.
we put a line over the A and pronounce it MakuSafe, giving the A the long sound, but it's actually kind of a play on words of Maku, trying to reduce risk, right? So
Gotcha.
our back end platform, MakuSmart, that does all the number crunching and stuff, also is a tool for folks like my father to be able to manage their day to day activities, identifying hazards, documenting their remediation, filling out accident forms, things like that. Just all of their day to day safety management happens within our portal. And we charge $22 per month per device.
I
So
see.
depending on how many devices, and these things have a 30 plus hour battery life. So in some situations, we're actually running two back to back 10-hour shifts. So covering two people back to back on a single device.
So 250 bucks a year per worker or something like that.
Yeah,
Is my
it's
math right?
yeah, right around
No,
there.
I mean, right around there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and again, that's if you're only covering one worker per device. A lot of places, especially the bigger facilities that we're in, they run multiple shifts. They'll run two
Okay.
tens
Okay.
with a 4 hour break, and so a lot of times we'll cover two workers back to back for that.
I mean, that
So,
sounds reasonable. If you're telling me that it's only 250 bucks roughly per person a year, I mean, and it can save me, I'm sure you have all kinds of things in your sales pitch showing them the risk and how much they can save. Yeah, that sounds very reasonable. Is this all protected, patented? I mean, who's your competition? How do you deal with all that?
yeah, we got our patent issued, and we've actually just recently filed some new stuff. And interestingly, COVID presented some really interesting challenges to us
Mm,
in that,
mm,
so we track, yeah, I mentioned, we track a lot of things, environmental conditions, light, sound, air quality, temperature, air pressure, a lot of things about the environment immediately around the worker, right? Because if you and I are in a factory and we're working 3 feet apart, but I'm on one side of a machine and you're on the other, your environment's probably totally different than mine, right? And so
okay.
that's the
Okay.
importance of gathering this data from on the worker, is we need that granularity. We track human motion, right? So we can detect slips, trips, falls, repetitive motions, things like that. We can track, there's a button on the front so they can talk into the device, so they can report something they see. Could be a safety risk, could be a quality issue, right? So this is a tool to communicate. And then lastly, we track location. And so we're picking up location, where things are happening. We want to know where things are happening in the facility, right? So that's why the location side of it's important. Well, when COVID-19 hit, um, some of the customers that we were working with said, one of the things that they were looking for is, we need to know, we're doing contract tracing. One of our workers got sick, and now we're doing interviews on who they've been working with. Do you guys have anything that could help us with these interviews, or could we digitize these interviews? And we thought about it. We thought, you know what? We already know who they've been around, because we know where they were,
I
and
see.
we know who else was in that area with them, because we have all this location data. We persist all that location data. So we said, hey, let's create a query where we can say, hey, Gabe just got diagnosed. I want to look back over the last 2 weeks and see all the people that he was around.
Interesting.
And all of that data was already there. It already
Wow.
existed. We didn't have to change this or do anything different. It was there. We're
How
just
about that?
applying it differently. And same with, as we talk about social distancing and people being around each other. And we said, hey, look, we can also do worker density mapping. We
How
know
about that?
we
How
have a
about that?
schematic of the building. We know who's all in what areas. We can see what
Okay.
areas have a higher concentration of workers, that can help them then target, hey, this area has a very high concentration of workers. Let's look at what social distancing practices we want to put in place, or let's look at making sure we're cleaning these areas,
Mm, mm.
maybe more so than we would anywhere else in the facility, because this is where most of the people are. So
Wow.
where it presented some challenges to us just logistically in getting our product out there into the world, because we had a lot of factories that were closed or had no visitor vendor policies. It also opened up this huge opportunity for us to be able to say, hey, when you're ready to get back to work, we're ready to help you get back to work safely by providing you this information that you're looking for.
Great,
So
great, great job in pivoting based on what you're up against and what's happening in the world. I mean, awesome, awesome job.
thank you.
Really,
Yeah.
your vision around that is really, really great. I mean, you're a visionary. Obviously, this is the third company you've started, I think, if I kept up with it. So, great job in that.
Sure.
Today,
Well,
the company has how many employees? And then, can you share with us? I know it's a private company, but give us some idea of how big it is revenue wise, or maybe I don't. What do you want to share there in company size?
yeah, so we're at about 14 people right now, but we actually have a handful of job offers that we put out this week. Again, with
Great.
everything happening, we're just really blessed to be in a position where, we're not cutting staff, we're not cutting back. Our investors provided us capital and said, go, go, go. Just,
Congrats.
keep doing what you guys are doing. So, we're excited to be hiring data science onto our team, technical people, also account management, right? So people that are out there managing the relationships with the customers. So it's great to see all areas of our business growing. Um,
Congratulations.
thank
Congratulations.
you.
Congratulations. That's really great news. By the way, did I mention Riderflex is a recruiting firm? No, we can talk.
Hey,
We can talk about
there you go.
talk about that offline.
I bet
Um,
you guys are probably crazy busy right now too.
we are. We actually are. Yeah, yeah, over the last 14 days, like 4 new contracts came in. We're busier in the last 2 weeks than we were before COVID started. Um, and then this is the fourth year of the company. Is that right?
It is, and you kind of asked about size and growth, and so really our goal for 2020 has been, hey, we want to service about 100
Oh,
deployments. Was
okay.
kind of our strategy,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's interesting. We get customers in two ways. One, it turns out the insurance industry has a huge incentive to not have
Ah.
accidents, right? So we have insurance companies that pay for our product, or subsidize the cost of our product,
I see.
for their customers, right? To help reduce the risk of losses. So that's about half of our customers. The other half are very large, Fortune 500 self-insured companies. And those companies have, tens of thousands or over 100,000 employees, right? And they're not going to buy 100,000 devices, day one and roll it out company wide. They're going to do, hey, we're going to put it in a few locations. We're going to run it for a period of time. We're going to get some feedback from the employees, from the leadership, from your organization. And then we're going to determine how we could scale this and if we could. And so we said, all right, with that in mind, let's focus on really doing about 100 deployments. We can kind of be a little bit selective then on where we want to work and who we want to work with the idea being that, after that first year of deploying that and providing white glove treatment, we could try to scale with some of those customers, and that would create a huge opportunity for us. So kind of the crawl before you walk and walk before you run strategy. But I would say, that's changed a little bit again with COVID, because some of the organizations have now said, look, we can't really take time to sit here and evaluate the importance of this or the payback of this. Our workers want to come back to work. We want to show that we value them. We want to make it as safe as possible. And we're getting the question, how many could you scale to? How many devices could you produce, and how quickly can you produce them?
That's a great question to get as an entrepreneur, is when a potential client calls and says, how much can you do?
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
And then you say, as an entrepreneur, you always say, we can do whatever you want. And then you hang up the phone and you call your co-founder and go, how the hell are we going to do that?
Exactly. That's the one thing, I can't take credit. Our team has just done such a good job of, evolving the technology. A lot of these ideas have come out of our product team, my co-founder and his team. But we have some really incredibly smart people at the table, not just employees, but we have a very fantastic board of directors, some great
Excellent.
business leaders here from Central Iowa. We have great investors. Some of them are former executives at Fortune 100 companies, right? We've just got a lot of people around the table that have helped provide us a lot of really good direction. And so there's not a lot of things that really scare us when we think about what our business could be and the challenges that we could face in trying to scale it, because we just have such a great support structure around us that we know we don't have to figure all that out on our own.
The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.